When I was in high school, I did very well on my PSATs, and so in 10th grade I started receiving a lot of booklets and pamphlets from lots of colleges trying to recruit me to come and apply. And I remember receiving in the mail a flyer or a pamphlet for West Point. And I remember the first thing I thought was, is this place still open? Because I always read about American generals who had gone and graduated from West Point, but I thought that was in the past. That was in history books. I was surprised to find out that the United States Military Academy has been around since it was founded in, I think it was 1802. And so it was, so I was surprised to find that it was open. And then the more I learned about it, the more it interested me. Because they not only emphasize academic excellence, but they also emphasize the entire person, the whole person concept. So I needed to. So those who are applying are also, besides being academically strong, also had to be very, very physically fit, participate in sports, and also show leadership, whether that be in clubs or in athletics or in extracurricular activities. So that very much appealed to me, and because as you know, so many in our society, we always tend to seem to go 3 tracks: doctors, lawyers, engineers. And I guess I wanted to show that I wanted to do something different, or that I was capable of doing something different. So also, my parents, I've attended church. We've attended church since I was young, and I became a Christian when I was a teenager, and so I knew I should pray and ask, God, where do you want me to go? And I thought it was very, very clear that He wanted me to go to West Point. And so in that sense, which was very helpful, because when I first went there, it was awful. It was very, very hard, especially since I had turned down several other colleges in order to go to West Point. And so, but the conviction that God wanted me here for a reason helped me make it through that first year. My poor father would hear me when I would call home during that first year, and I would be crying because we didn't have cell phones back then. I had to try to get to a payphone maybe once a week to call him, and I would be crying on the phone about how hard it was and how much he didn't like it and how much he wanted to leave. And of course, now that I have children, I realize how hard that must have been for him to hear that.
We cried together.
Yes, and I remember one time my father saying, "Okay, you can come home." And when he said that, I paused, and I said, "Are you sure?" And that's what kind of made me realize, no, I needed to stay. I needed to stay. So, and it was a very, very good experience. It was very challenging in so many ways. It also taught me to relate to people better. The Army and West Point is extremely good in trying to teach people, obviously, how to lead. I mean, in a lot of armies in the world, the officers lead by fear. And, you must, or else, you will be beaten. Obviously, in the American Army, you don't have corporal punishment. So there's very much an aspect to leadership, because you have to convince a group of 10, 20, 30, 100 people to try to go towards people who are shooting at them. That's an extremely counterintuitive thing to do. And the only way that you can do that is to have the people you're with trust you. And you have to be there up in the front, to do that. Now, I personally did not go infantry. That's kind of what I'm talking about. I went military intelligence. But that whole aspect is really, it's something that I've learned. I've really learned, and how, because even if you're not in a situation where people are shooting at you, if you're in any kind of a leadership or managerial position, still setting the example of being fair, listening, having a conversation and dialogue with the people that you're in charge of, trying to understand how you can better help them and so that they can succeed, because if they succeed, you succeed as well. All of those things I think have been really, really helpful that I've learned over the years, not just at West Point, but especially in the Army. So, let's see. I just glossed over a whole lot of things. Did you want me to talk more about West Point, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me.
Sure.
The first visit was West Point, and they have a reception area, separate reception area.
Okay.
On the wall, they clearly say the mission of West Point.
Okay.
The real thing is to raise the leaders of characters for the nation, and that actually really good. So at that point, I think we send him the right, but the way I send her at the right place. That's what I need. Train the leaders of characters. It's not person, characters. That's very important, characters.
And I've always really loved history, and one of the interesting slogans at West Point, but it's true, that they use to recruit. They say, much of the history we teach was made by people we taught. So that was, and you see everywhere, the statues of, Eisenhower and MacArthur and Lee and Grant, and so it's a very, it's very interesting. I enjoyed that aspect because here in California we don't feel that kind of history necessarily in this area, but I guess in terms of the United States, American history often very, very concentrated in that part of the eastern coast of the United States. In terms of West Point, like I said, it's very, very historic. A lot of people, for example, have heard of Benedict Arnold in U.S. history, about Benedict Arnold being a traitor. A lot of people don't realize.
Benedict Arnold. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of people don't realize that what Benedict Arnold tried to betray was he was the commander of the armed forces at West Point, and so he tried to give those plans to the British, but he was caught. So even the term Benedict Arnold, that he tried to betray West Point because it's a very strategic area during the Revolutionary War. But it's a beautiful campus. Like I said, the first year was very hard. I actually applied for transfer twice. I got accepted twice, and I still chose to come back. Fortunately, the last 3 years were much better. And I think that first year, because everybody who goes there do very, very well in school. So the first year I made Dean's List. And but if you're in the top 5% of your class, you get to wear these. You're called a star man because you get to wear stars on the collar of your uniform. And that's when I made Commandant, or when I made Dean's List, I realized how hard it was to get to that top 5% because your classmates are very, very smart. So I just kept on working hard, and that's when I kind of realized that, okay, well, I'm not going to be like that, the top 5%, but I'm just going to keep working hard and trying to do my best. So by the last year, I had the stars by the last year.
Wow, good. The last year, right?
Yeah, so by my senior year, I was in the top 5%.
And during last year, she was among 10 of the administration officer of the cadet corps, right?
Well,
There are 10 of them.
Well, actually, it's higher. Well, there's more people than that. It's, the first class, the seniors, they have a chain of command. So they have the first captain.
The organization is.
This star, because you only
You start
5%.
Top 5%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
right.
you're talking about brigade staff then?
Yes.
Brigade staff. So
Brigade staff.
it's about actually closer to 20 of us.
Yeah, so that's the senior year. The whole West Point is sort of actually the cadet administered the cadet. So the top layer person will be normally support the graduate
The seniors.
seniors. They manage the whole corps.
So that was fun. That was fun.
And she was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's your duty during that period of time?
Oh, it was actually I was an assistant brigade adjutant. Adjutant is in charge of personnel stuff. And in this particular case, the area of personnel I was in charge of was when we had visitors, distinguished visitors come to West Point if they needed to find, they often wanted to have, dinner or lunch with cadets. And so it was my job to go and find the cadets and make sure they were all in the right place at the right time, for meeting whatever dignitary. So that was fun.